What's going on, world? It's your boy at Big Game James _36, and this is Big Games BS presented to you by Sports Den Live, Den Media Group, brought to you by thehumidor.com. Go to thehumidor.com, the go-to site for all your cigar needs. Type in Sports Den at checkout for 20% off. It's been a lot going on in the last week was crazy in general. Shout out, we got my boy Bobby back. He's becoming the go-to guy for all comedy, man. Working. I thought
getting out here
when you were saying you got passed, I was like, man, damn. I wonder. I guess they looked over my boy, but I guess passed means
it means
like
approved.
you're that guy.
Like it means that you're eligible to work regularly, and they call you for stuff. So I'm past there, and also, I'm helping them out on some marketing stuff, and we're all the way around trying to really take over some stuff, but I'm working.
And that's what at the end of the day, that's really what my charge to keep is. It's about building brands. Like I'm gonna take credit for Bobby right now. Bobby's matured so much since a lot happened to him since November, or since he decided to come back to Jacksonville. I almost died. I think that was part of the stuff when I met him the first time.
Yeah.
But a man's met his father. he's becoming a positive adult that my taxes don't have to that my taxes one day will not have to take care of. And I'm happy for you. I'm happy for your growth. At the end of the day, it's about leveraging your opportunities to help the next generation. So really nothing gives you more positive news or negative news than helping motherfuckers out, boy. I tell you what, like if people don't know, I do a lot of this stuff very naturally. It's not to brag on myself, but man, I tell you what, people do not realize how many times I say fuck this shit on a day-to-day basis. Because news dropped last week of a NIL, name, image, and likeness company that's formed for FSU athletes, but really is for anybody who wants to get it. We'll probably end up doing something with I will end up doing something with Florida A&M. I had some people at actually University of North Florida reach out to me too, really about helping these young men and women get money and build their brand, because that's really what the NIL is. Like, let's not get it twisted. Obviously, it's about money, but the NIL really what it's about is it's about giving young men and women an opportunity to leverage their athletic talents to some off the field gains, whether it be through job opportunities, whether it be through internships, whether it be through really just true marketing. And that's kind of where we're at right now. We have had a lot of good meetings, a lot of good stuff, but man, I tell you what, man, it's a lot of and granted, I'm in a position now where I can say things the way that I want to say. Matter of fact, I use our great mayor here in the city of Jacksonville. He brought up a very good point when I went to go see Elton John this past
Elton John.
Yeah, I went to go see Elton John. I think it was
Friday.
I went to go see Elton John, or was it Saturday? Anyway, one of them days. It was Saturday. I went to go see one. Elton John has a lot more songs that I know than I knew.
Other than Rocket Man.
Yeah, it was way one. Rocket Man is clearly talking about getting high. I did not know that.
Yes.
Until I saw a bunch of conservatives singing with their hearts.
Singing getting high.
Like when you listen to the words, like it blows you away. Like he ain't even hiding it. But he made the song "I'm Still Standing," and I was like, oh damn, I vibe with that song because my son was singing it. But anyways, the mayor said something to me. He said, James, you have a way of saying whatever the fuck you want to say and it being palatable. And you don't really you get blowback, but it's not like you're not wrong with what you say. And I took that as an honor. And that's really what I want to show these guys. But the reason why I'm bringing this up to start off the show is, again, name, image, and likeness is really, really dominating the headlines when it comes to sports, in particular. So much so that every day you see people complaining about what it is or what it isn't. People complaining about people's interest in it, and people complaining about how it's being utilized. And I want to bring up one of the guys, incredible journalist in of himself, a guy by the name of Ira Schafel, dope guy with Board Champ. He brought up something on the terms of what the University of Miami is doing with their billionaire booster. I think it's John Ruiz, and Life Wallet, and basically talking about like this is just a money grab. And I always tell people at the end of the day, so the fuck what? What if it is a money grab? It's the guys getting an opportunity to make their money. And as I'm still trying to make sure I share these things, because I want people to understand like there ain't nothing wrong with making money in a capitalistic society. We are not all created equal. What we do all deserve is equity, right? Equity means the ability to earn as much as you want. And I don't want the playing field level. If I'm a better athlete than you, if I'm a better marketing brand than you, then I deserve to make more money than you. It's period. And I don't understand why people have this irrational fear of what these things are. But let me go back and I'm going to read it. It's whether or not the NCAA ever steps in. The situation with and the Ruiz family is going to be interesting to watch. With the money he's investing, it probably won't be long before he's firing and hiring coaches and ADs if they're not winning with the players he's acquiring. And what a lot of this has to do with is every kid that signs to Miami right now is basically getting a deal with Life Wallet. And I can't speak intelligently on what Life Wallet is per se. I think it's a crypto wallet, which that's the way that the world is kind of shifting toward right now, alternative currencies and things of that nature. But I would implore people like, so the fuck what? Like if I was a billionaire and I really had opportunities and I wanted to see my favorite thing win, I would invest it. Like I don't have billions, I have time and I have connections. So that it's no different than doing that. I actually love what Ruiz is doing for the University of Miami and what their athletes are. And I don't count people's pockets. And the one thing too is what people have to understand is like not all the deals are like this one deal that he put out, which I think was is as ridiculous as it is dope. Miami is set to pay former Kansas State guard Nigel Pack $800,000 over 2 years. Like that's a lot of fucking money for a point guard, but that's not my money. Like I flourish, Nigel. I hope you get paid another $800,000 contract, and I hope it
play basketball.
Just to play basketball at the University of Miami, the transfer from K State, and I hope that works out. The University of Florida has the Gator Collective and the Gator Guard, and Darren Heitner put out a tweet that I had to jokingly tell a mutual friend of ours. And if you don't know who Darren Heitner is an incredible journalist, and he's an incredible alum of the University of Florida. I think he boasts that he's a 3-time graduate of the University of Florida, bachelor, master's, and law degree. But what he's doing with some of these deals in negotiating is what America is all about. But I do think if people have the concerns that they have, shut the fuck up and drop a bag. Like there's nothing stopping you from doing it at your own university, at your own alma mater. The only thing stopping you is your idea of what name, image, and likeness is, and this belief that it somehow is sullying the integrity of the of NCAA athletics and football in general. Let's look at this. Like, where have we seen this before? One thing that we have seen this before is a guy by the name of T. Boone Pickens with Oklahoma State. Oil baron, made a tremendous amount of money. He went to Oklahoma State University, I believe, or that's the school that he loves. And even before NILs, like when I was coming into high school, he made it known that he wanted to see Oklahoma State win a national championship while he was alive. Now he's passed, I believe, but he put up a lot of money. He had a lot of influence. There are tremendous boosters right now that have a tremendous amount of influence at schools anyway. The boosters have been getting coaches hired and fired since the beginning of time. Like nothing is going to be worse when it comes to this landscape than what football was in the 80s when you had SMU or the true Miami, the badass teams of the University of Miami in the late 80s, early 90s. Hell, they went on probation, almost went on probation twice. Another more recent thing would be what Miami had going in the early 2000s when they had the guy who got popped in a Ponzi scheme. But he literally was paying players. And I think the thing that really has to come with it is a lot of these guys know the law. A lot of these guys know what the rules are, and there's heavy compliance, heavy lawyers involved in it on a lot of these different ends, and they're making sure that everything is legal. You still cannot pay players to pay for play, which this effectively is still, but because obviously the better you play, the better marketable you are. The more people want to be involved with you on a day to day. But I think it's just, we still have to be able to go into this space and figure out what NILs are, what NILs mean to these athletes, because I think what's being lost in all of this is that every athlete's not going to be worth almost $1 million. But every athlete should be worth at least 25 to $50,000 to their respective universities, and you should be able to find ways to be able to put a couple $1,000s into their pockets. Oklahoma has just announced something, and I don't know the intricacies in their deal and how they're going to pay every Oklahoma athlete $50,000, but that's kind of what they have, and there's going to be stipulations and things that these guys have to do. Even with Florida State with Rising Spear, if you sign up for one of the Rising Spear levels, I believe there's a garnet contract and a gold. And don't quote me because I don't want to misinterpret which one it is, but one of them is basically is just a contract that pays you for appearances, and that's available to every FSU student athlete. So, and they pay 250 an appearance, from what I understand. At minimum, it's negotiable as well, but at minimum. So you could be in theory, you could be a walk-on or a lesser known player, but you sign with Rising Spear, and let's say you do an event a week. That's $1,000 a month that's being added to your pocket. That's to a college student, that's kind of life-changing bread. That's not life-changing bread to an adult, but that's definitely life-changing bread to a college student who has different things. And a lot of these guys have different things that are that affect them on a day-to-day that we don't even really necessarily know about. Like, they have kids, they have families. I think a lot more needs to be spoken about what these student athletes are really, really doing with their scholarship checks. Um, a lot of you'd be surprised at how many guys are actually giving back home. Like, they're sending, they're paying for cell phone bills, they're paying their moms short on groceries, they're sending money back home with these little bit of things, and how selfless a lot of these guys are. They're just blessed with incredible talents that, for whatever reason, when it comes to sports, people tend to think that these athletes are not earning this. And one thing I always want to implore people is, if you're a student athlete, that means no matter what level, you're part of the 2% of the population that was good enough in your sport to be able to go play and perform on a high level. That means there's not another thing in this world where you're one of the top 2% in your field where you don't get paid in America. And now, if you're one of the 2% or the 10% of the 2%, then obviously you deserve to get paid more. But I think a lot of education needs to be talked about. A lot of stuff is spooking people for no reasons, and it's really just a lot of weirdo energy
Mhm.
going on. And I made a tweet that a lot of people retweeted, and much of my life is very machismo, a lot of bravado. Um, it comes with how I grew up. It also comes with how I live my life on the day to day. I do have a low. I love ignorance, but I also have a low tolerance for it. And I think 50 Cent posted a message in an interview a few years back where he talked about there's a lot of violence in corporate America structure, and a lot of it comes from you're used to dealing with people on a bullshit level, and there is no confrontation. When you can write a contract or you can do something, you try to. My father talks about, if you can kill a man while he's still breathing, that's what you really did, and they try to affect your way to earn a livelihood. And what I'm here to bring into this space isn't to disrupt anything. I think Rising Spear on the Florida State level is dope. I think 850 Warpath is dope. We need all of that. I think what we're doing with Micanopy 1851 is some of the things we're going to do with these athletes that is non-monetary, non-monetary in the beginning or on the surface, but it's about building a foundation so that you can fish and make money for the rest of your life. But at the same time, it's a level of badassery that has to go into it. Um, and as I love to joke, don't get don't get slapped on some hoe shit. Because I don't have the energy, nor do I have the time to really deal with a lot of the snickering or the talking behind people's back and a lot of the other stuff. Like that's part of the reason why people say I don't play well with others. But actually, my tweet was this: I'm gonna tell you straight, this ain't like the media stuff. And I was attacked when we started fifth quarter, and they got my last page jammed. It was at 10,000 followers. I love that page. I got hopefully, if you put some money on my guy Big Game James 36 books, I would love that. My guy's doing hard times, doing life. He's got a life sentence.
Which app?
With Twitter. On Twitter. So like Big Game James 36. Big Game James _36 is an upstanding individual. He's a dope guy. But Big Game James 36 is like he's doing hard time.
Your second life.
Breaking bricks in Twitter jail. But and that was cool. I just created a new one. I always said if this one gets jammed, I'm not creating a new one. I just use my business things, and which is why I find it funny when people think I have like these burner accounts or stuff like that.
Think you got KD accounts?
Yeah, like I don't have time. I got way too much other shit going on. Like I tell people, if this gets, I'll just live in my Discord on fifth quarter, or I'll just do IG, and it takes a lot to get banned on Facebook, unless you call Will Smith a hoe or something like that. Then they'll jam you for a couple of days. But I say this: if I find out that you're spreading misinformation about me and BS about what I'm trying to do, I'm gonna just slap the shit out of you when I see you. And you better hope that that whole shit is worth your jawline. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Like, if I find out that it's you and I see you, there's not going to be a lot of conversation with it. I'm going to pop you. And it ain't going to be a Chris Rock, Will Smith type thing. You come to Lot 19 with the tailgates on that bullshit and you've been talking bad about, it's not just that you don't like it or that you don't understand it, it's that you're literally questioning my character. We will throw your ass off the top of Lot 19 if that's what it takes. Just to, sometimes you gotta. What I'm finding is in this suits, because I got the nice suits, but my suits can move. They can flex, they can bend. I can throw a solid punch with that. But a lot of you guys aren't used to real confrontation, so we gonna have to get y'all used to some real confrontation. But shout out, there should be some things coming up here shortly where we announce. We have an athlete in contract right now, and I think that's going to be a big deal. That when that contract comes up, I think everybody's going to like it. So that's just again the NIL space is really where all the news is outside of. There's a big event coming again to change a lot of young men's lives this Thursday with the NFL draft. So we'll get into that, but again,
this week.
Yes, Thursday. Thursday starts the NFL draft. But before I even segue into it, what I want people to stop doing is stop watching other people's pockets and get involved in the fucking game. Get involved in the game or just shut the fuck up. And then the other thing too is stop saying we. Miami fans, y'all broke. Ruiz ain't broke. But you, individual person that's cheering on this man, like you're broke. Like just chill out. Your life ain't changed much at all, and you can clap and appreciate it. But like, let's be real. Like you're broke. He's not. I just want to make sure everybody understands that. And I got a chance to do some dealings with that group, not Ruiz in particular, but with that group over this past weekend. With some stuff that was going on and get negotiated again. You'll see some of that stuff get broke on fifth quarter college football as we continue to go down this space. But transitioning into the NFL draft, which is really what all of this stuff is about. Everybody puts as the face of name, image, and likeness football. And rightfully so. I get it. Football has the bigger television contracts. Football is really America's pastime. College football in particular is something where the fan bases are so passionate about these individuals, but it's only rivaled to the NFL on a pro side, where not so much in the Southeast as it is across the nation, where Pittsburgh, everybody in Pittsburgh isn't worried about Pitt football; they're worried about the Steelers. When I went to Kansas City, and shout out to Bob Kendricks, got me this Monarch shirt from the Negro League Baseball Museum. Kansas City is very much so a pro city. where they love their Chiefs, they love their the Royals, they love everything that they have out there from a pro perspective. They do like Kansas and Kansas State, but it's not as prevalent as it is here in the South because we don't have like the Jaguars are relatively new. The Bucks are older, the Dolphins are older, but even them, like those are places where people used to have. But in the part of the country, part of the state of Florida, you had Tallahassee, where you had Florida State and Florida A&M. You had Gainesville, you had the University of Florida. And while the Dolphins were stinking, you had the Miami Hurricanes that came up that the entire city could back. So the colleges mean so much more in the state of Florida. Like even in Georgia, the Falcons relatively new with the success that they've had, hit or miss, but the University of Georgia has always been something that everybody likes. Alabama doesn't have a pro team, but they have two big colleges. Same thing with the state of Mississippi. But this week is where it's what you dreamed about when you played Pop Warner, when you played I-9. It's what you dreamed about getting an opportunity when you played high school ball and you were a top prep prospect. And you chose to go to a certain university that gave you the opportunity to be on a bigger platform, a bigger stage, to be able to go make this money.
That's the step I missed.
What?
I was a phenom at MOT. You know what I mean? I was a little phenom. I was dreaming of who was going to draft me. Yeah. You know what I mean? But I didn't go to that next college. Puberty TCC didn't elevate my game enough to where
they did, man. They did. But everybody's chasing the NIL and the money, but at the end of the day, the goal is still to get to the NFL. As I should just suggest to people, if you spend your time chasing the NIL, you're going to miss the NFL. Like, make as much money as you can during that process, but let's not forget, like right now with the CBA, the collective bargaining agreement, and a lot of the things that have gone on, I think this year rookie minimum is $650, and over the course of the next 10 years before the CBA is renegotiated, the rookie minimum will be $1 million. Like, I'm sorry, that's still a better deal going that route than just getting a couple $100,000 on the college side. But the Jacksonville Jaguars, the team that, as we continue the show continues to grow and we go more national, but we're local here to Jacksonville, Florida, is in a situation that they're in way too often. And that is they are in drafting first overall again. Like, Jags continue to have these top picks, and unfortunately, in a league that's built for parity, the Jags have been really consistent in being asked. It's very difficult to be this bad for this long. But there's a situation right now where it's the worst time to have the first overall pick. It's still a great moment in for young men who are considered to be the guys that that the Jacksonville Jaguars will pick. And moving forward, a lot of the 32 picks that will happen on Thursday, the 64 picks that will happen on Friday, and then the rest of them that happen on Saturday, it's still life-changing. You're going to move to another city, and you get an opportunity to still play this game, albeit for bigger stakes than you've ever known to do. And it's going to put you in a tax bracket that literally very few people around you have even been able to consider or experience. So with that being said, you've got guys like Aiden Hutchinson, who is being rumored to be going to the Jacksonville Jaguars with the first overall pick. It's a lot of rumors.
I saw like 5 different people getting drafted today.
I'm gonna give 4 different names.
Yeah, okay.
So I don't know about 5. Actually, I'm gonna give 5. 4 that I know, and 1 that I know ain't no chance in hell happening. I just happen to like the guy.
Okay.
But Aiden Hutchinson is a guy who is and anybody, like, if you've listened to me talk enough, I like to speak in ways that people can recognize, and there's nothing wrong with him. He's the benefactor of all of this, and that's hell. If he was my son, I'd be ready for it too. But one thing that America loves more than the get rich quick scheme, the underdog story, is they love what we call the Great White Hope. And what Aiden Hutchinson is the Great White Hope. He is playing he's playing a position that you don't see a lot of guys like this, but he's definitely cold. He's good with it. And he's a defensive end. He had, I believe, he led the nation in sacks this year. He didn't have a lot the previous years where he was doing stuff, but he blew up and exploded on the scene, and he performed very well against some really, really good programs that are historic. Like Ohio State is consistently good, and Michigan got a chance to get over the hump for the first time this year, I believe, and he was a big part of that. Now, when he played against Georgia, he really went absent, and why I say he's the great white hope is that you see a lot of people capping for a lot of the things that he's able to do and what he can't do, as opposed to just saying, man, here's a guy why you draft him is because he's one of the top. He's got the most sacks that we had this past year, and that's high value when it comes to a defensive end. You need a defensive end to get sacks. You don't draft a guy first overall to set the edge, to be a hard worker, to have a high motor. You draft a guy first overall at that position because you believe that he can get you 10 sacks a year. It doesn't have to be his rookie year, but you do believe over the course of the next few years that he's able to do it. Personally, I don't think that's the direction that the Jags should go on defense when you have a guy like Trevor Lawrence and you're trying to perform well offensively. You need to get him the tools that will make him more successful. But I also understand why there's nothing wrong with him, because one of the overall themes that need to be with the first overall pick is that this guy's going to be a catalyst, a cornerstone of your franchise. In 10 years, will this guy still be here? And will we say, hey, for 7 of those 10 years, he was actually a pretty damn good player in the NFL? And that's kind of where you want your first overall pick to hit. A lot of gambles come in drafts anyway, but Aiden Hutchinson, for all of the accolades he gets, there's still a lot of question marks because he wasn't able to do it consistently for a long period of time. The next guy that a lot of people were talking about staying on the defensive side is Trayvon Walker. Make sure I'm saying that right, because I know a couple of times I said it wrong. But he's from the University of Georgia. Again, a guy who was not asked to be a sack guy. He did what he was asked to do. He was on one of the, probably at the time, considered one of the best defenses in college football history, won a national championship on a defense with some studs, Nakobe Dean, the big D tackle that they had. There's probably
Jordan Davis.
Yeah. There's about, I'd say there's 6 to 7 draftable guys on that defense alone. And for him to even be able to stand out, but I think what really helped him was when he went to the combine and he put up numbers. The numbers that he put up are on par with guys who are 12 double-digit sack guys. And he only had 6. But when you think about the games that, they blew out a lot of people, they weren't in, like, he didn't have to play a lot, which I think also adds to his overall. Because one of the things too about the draft and when you leave early is it's a projection. They're not drafting you based upon just what you did, but based upon, all right, if you get another year and we bring you here into this program, into this franchise, and we develop you more, maybe we can get you into that double-digit sack production type of career. I don't mind him being drafted in the first round. I just don't want to draft somebody with the first overall pick on a projection of what I think you can do. Like, for all the reasons why I say don't draft Aiden Hutchinson, I can use those exact same things for Walker, and it will be inconsistent if I say that it's cool for Walker, but not cool for Aiden Hutchinson. And because at least Aiden Hutchinson has a year where he's put the production on the field. Walker is all about, we think he can do it based upon what he was asked to do at Georgia and what his measurables are that he put on at the combine. Again, the 2 defensive ends that everybody is projecting toward the Jaguars as a potential first overall pick are all about projecting. It's not about consistency or what we think they can do. That moves me to the 2 players that I really hope that the Jags are circling. I hope that's who they're going to go in and give the name to. I think that they would do a lot more, have more impact for the Jags currently right now. And that would be starting off with Evan Neal. Evan Neal is the offensive tackle from the University of Alabama. He's a massive man, very good with his hands, very good feet work. You saw him go up against Walker. Walker got the best of him a couple times, but when you're going up against another pro prospect, you should see a battle. But consistently, Evan Neal has done it. He's done it for a few years. And I think he's a guy that you draft, and now all of a sudden you've got a cornerstone piece to your offensive line, and you've got it cheaper. A franchise left tackle is something that you really, really hope to have. And if we're looking at it like, you get 5 years off rip with your first contract. Then you have 2 opportunities to franchise tag somebody. So that's 7 years of production that you can get at that one position, which again, if you go back to what I said, you need to be looking for in a first overall pick, you need to be looking for a guy who is going to give you the consistency that's needed. If you can protect Trevor Lawrence's blind side, now he's got more time to throw the ball downfield, which is something that he wasn't able to get used to. And also it helps make the prospects that you have, like your Christian Kirk, not prospects, excuse me, the free agents that you sign with your Christian Kirks. Who's the dude that was running around naked?
Zay Jones.
Zay Jones.
Or off-brand Russell Wilson.
Off-brand Russell Wilson, yeah. A Hindu Russell Wilson, if you would. Get his haircut.
Carlton Russell Wilson.
You've got Laviska Shenault, who we call the Black Russian. You've got all these guys who are already on your roster that are waiting for that breakout, but maybe an extra second where the quarterback doesn't have to scramble for his life will help that. It also gives you something to do with Cam Robinson. You can move him to right tackle, see where he goes with that. You can trade him. There's a lot of things that you can do if you do indeed pick up a guy like Evan Neal. A guy who I like better than Evan Neal, who I've talked to a few GMs about, who is really, these guys are 1A and 1B. And that's, I'm not even going to pretend to say his name. I'm just going to call him Icky. Icky from North Carolina State. He's a massive human. He's a large mammal. And he's a guy who's a little shorter. But what I tell people is this. One of the best offensive tackles that the Jags have had is a guy, what is COVID message? Oh, Leon Sears. I'm about to say my mind just sometimes blanks.
He would have been mad.
But Big Sears is 6'4", massive guy, long arms for a guy who's his size, incredible punch power. If you listen to anytime anybody comes on with Big Leon and they talk about him, they talk about how hard his punch is. And if you shake his hand, he's got paws.
Really? So heavy. if he was in the Dave and Buster's thing and you got that punch machine there.
He's knocking it out. He's knocking it out. I wouldn't want to make that guy angry. I like Big Leon, but that's kind of where Icky kind of gives me that Leon vibe. And it's also because of his size and how wide he is. Let's say in 7 years, you find another top left tackle prospect. He's a guy that you could bump in and he could easily transition to the guard position because of how wide he is. So one of the things that you do also want to look at when you're drafting these guys is what is their functionality across the line? Because, it's not like the video game. You don't have too deep on game days. So what you do is what they typically carry is 7 to 8 offensive linemen on a game day. So if somebody gets hurt, you got to have what they call swing guys. So you got to be able to move these guys around to be able to get the best, because injuries will happen. Suspensions will happen. All kinds of shit happens in the NFL. And you want to make sure that you're in the best position possible when it comes down to it.
Yeah.
And lastly, a guy who I'm going to bring in who I would absolutely love for the Jaguars to draft.
Let's hear it.
But I know they're not. I would clown them, but at the same time be extremely happy. Because I believe this is the best defensive end in the draft is Jermaine Johnson, out of Florida State, formerly out of the University of Georgia. And why do I say that? So for everything that we talk about what Walker can do and can't do, Walker's playing the position that Jermaine Johnson played at the University of Georgia, or played that when he was at the University of Georgia. Mm-hmm. He went to Florida State where they asked him to get to the quarterback, and he was able to use his athleticism, his and the different things available to him to be able to explode on the scene. And was one of the top sack leaders in the country. And again, he's got consistent production over all the years that he's played in college. Now, he came from JUCO, but he had 6 sacks at the University of Georgia last year. He had, I believe it's 15 and a half sacks this year at Florida State, not just against the Sisters of the Poor. He had a great game against Florida. He had a great game against Miami. He had a great game against Clemson. He had a great game against North Carolina State, Louisville. He's performed at a high level, and I think just some of the things that he's able to do, even with the strip sacks, having ball awareness. I think whoever gets Jermaine Johnson is going to get somebody that's just going to be a phenomenal pass rusher, and his size also lets him be able to stop the run. And these are all. It's a tough position to be in because general managers are made in the draft. with who they pick and how they can propel and advance this team.
I was gonna say like I'm excited for this draft too, but nothing like I'm from Jacksonville. I grew up here. The entire time the Jags have stunk. Nothing on the record or resume ever shows me that this draft, like they're not gonna do what you want in the draft.
Right. And if you look at the past few years, man, now granted it's a completely different, well not completely different, but the administration that drafted a lot of these previous guys is no longer in effect, but it's actually pretty impressive how bad the Jags have been in the past decade in terms of their first round draft picks.
I mean, it's because we've seen, well, at least now all of this stuff has been coming out over the last year that we really just have had a very football absent minded owner. That play, learning that after all these news came out about Urban and everything that's been rolling out, and then listening to this show, I was a very casual sports guy up until now I'm learning more, and I'm like, oh, okay, well, if we didn't even have some of these positions that they say you need in the front office. We just have not had any of these, right. So I think that when I learned that, I was like, oh my God, that is why.
Let's just go over who the Jags have drafted.
Yes.
In the first round.
All right.
2011, they drafted Blaine Gabbert.
Okay.
Huge reach.
What number?
Not only did they draft him, they traded up to get him. I remember exactly where I was at. I wasn't working with 1010XL at the time. I was actually just a draft correspondent, FSU correspondent. And I went to a draft party, and the Jags, I think, had the 20th pick or something like that. They traded up to get Blaine Gabbert, if I remember correctly, with the 10th overall pick. And it led to a run of quarterbacks that a lot of quarterbacks that aren't in the league anymore, because that's a position that you don't want to miss out on. But when there's a rush on them, there's a rush. 2012, you had Justin Blackman. Really good.
Yeah.
I call him the crackhead. He plays like a crackhead.
Yeah.
When he's on the field, he's good. Couldn't put the booze down. Couldn't put the drugs down.
Honestly, I think that was the only time, not the only time, but my older brother bought a jersey the day that we picked him at the draft.
And he was good. I saw him play in the Gator Bowl, if I remember correctly. And, man, he was lights out. It was crazy. 2013, Luke Jokel, who –
I don't even know who that is.
He was an offensive lineman, left tackle that we picked up. He ended up not working out. And I think the problem – he went to Seattle and started a few years. But, again, he was so bad here that – they didn't even want to I think one of the mistakes that they do make sometimes, you can't help where a guy was drafted, but are they a functional football player? Can they I think he was actually a functional football player, just not to the level of where he was drafted. Yeah. And I think in 2010 we had Tyson Alualu. So even him, he was a reach as well.
That exact reason that you just said, are people functional football players or whatnot? I have the exact opposite thought when you're talking about us drafting someone who, okay, if we work and we develop this guy, they could be a star. And I'm like, do we even have that? You know what I mean? We haven't been functional enough to develop someone.
We finally have a coach.
Yeah.
Doug Peterson. I say we.
But it still has to be, around. Do we have people who can develop and actually help people take a step forward?
No clue, but I do know this. 2014, the GOAT, the boat, if you would.
Blake?
Yeah, Blake Bortles.
Hey.
Who, again, you can't help where you were drafted. He actually is a bust, but he did lead the Jags to the only fun I've had in the city covering the Jags in the 2017 run that we had. 2015, you drafted from the University of Florida, and defensive end, ended up going to the Rams. And I think he's with the Falcons now. Forgive me, you Florida fans know him. 2016, your homeboy.
Me?
Yeah, you guys share dates and women. Jalen Ramsey. You hit on Jalen Ramsey. But you had curmudgeons in here that he didn't get along with that he asked out. 2017, Leonard Fournette, who I don't necessarily think is a bust.
At number 4.
But yeah, at number 4. But Leonard Fournette has a Super Bowl with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's a functioning part of other franchises. 2018, my favorite player to hate, Taven Bryan.
Mm-hmm.
People don't understand why you drafted that guy. 2019, you got Josh Allen, who they're right now, they haven't picked up his 5th-year option.
Yeah, I've been seeing that. Yeah.
So like he actually had the potential with Unique, but he needs somebody else on the other side of him. So what did you do in 2020? You thought you got rid of Jalen. You also got rid of Unique, who was on the other side of him. So you tried to draft what you thought would help. You got a corner who's no longer here. And you got the sack guru who doesn't get any sacks.
Caleb on.
I'm not even going to try to say.
Is he still on the team?
Yep, he's still on the team.
Fowler was the one we
Fowler,
forgot.
Dante Fowler. Yep, that's it. Sorry about that, Dante.
Got it.
And again, Dante. I don't think Dante was really that bad. I think
I was a fan of Dante Fowler.
It was a personality mix as well as with the type of defense they were trying to run that kind of threw a lot of things off. But when you go that far back and you're not hitting on guys, and obviously 2021 we had Trevor Lawrence, so the verdict is still out on that.
Yeah.
But when you're not hitting on these guys consistently, man, it really makes it difficult for you. But even in this, so one guy just ain't. A lot of these guys not playing. Well, I think Gabbert still has a career as a backup. Justin isn't. He's in and out of halfway houses. Jokel didn't do much.
We forgot about the receivers.
Vogt is trying to find a place to go. Dante Fowler is still playing. Jalen Ramsey's still playing. Leonard Fournette's still playing. Only God knows how. Taven Bryan just picked up a contract with Cleveland. He's still playing. Josh Allen is still here. He's still playing. So you've got guys that are still in the league, but the Jags are having a hard time keeping the talent, not just developing the talent, because these guys are going other places and actually playing decent. They're just not able to get it out of them here in Jacksonville. So you have to ask yourself, what is it about Jacksonville that is putting these guys in these positions where they can't be successful?
That's what I was saying with we got to figure out what the development is, after post-draft. Like, now we have a great head coach and all this stuff, but, we got to figure out what's been wrong. Like, what's the issue with us not being able to help players take a step forward and, keep going with the right progression, as opposed to they go somewhere else and then they winning Super Bowls, Fournette, Jalen, Dante, like,
because even in the whole bad stretch outside of 1 year, they always do these numbers, right? And they're showing like the amount of Jaguar players in the playoffs. And it's always pretty impressive, like to see that, it's just us. Like they go other places and they buy in and they build into something and they're grounded. They're doing stuff on a really, really high level. But again, like I say, a lot of like one of the things that I truly enjoy watching it. I've watched the NFL draft since I started really playing football, my sophomore year in high school. And then when I was in college, I would sit back and I would watch it myself just to see if I was on somebody's draft highlight. I was really impressed that I think I might have been on Sean Taylor's draft highlight, but not because Sean was hitting me. There's a play when people were like, James, you didn't look like you. They didn't pay me to make tackles. If Chris Ricks threw an interception to Sean Taylor, and I saw what our defense does and what other defenses do. When you throw an interception, you hear that Oski, and everybody on the defense turns and they're enjoying blocking you. They're gonna light your ass up. And me, I'm jogging my ass to the side. I'm not about to get lit up and get hurt because you decided to throw it to the other team. Like, I'm sorry. It's a long time ago. I can promise you that my stance has not changed. I'm not about to get lit up for somebody else. If the tackle happens, and apparently I have a career tackle, I just I don't remember making.
You don't know who it was?
Yeah, I don't know who it was. I can remember all my touchdowns. I damn sure don't remember who I tackled and why I have one career tackle. But
did he return it?
I think he got bumped out of bounds. But it was in 03 pouring down rain, and like again, man, I wasn't about to get lit up, bro. I could just
I think I I found you.
You got it?
Yeah, dog. Yeah, like we not about to make that. There's only one play that I can. Well, it's two plays that game. I didn't make DJ Williams draft highlights, thank God. But there's only one play that I do remember against Penn State. It was a safety. They should have gave him the safety. But they didn't. They gave me forward momentum, and I don't know how. But it was funny because I was dating my sister at the time. It was funny because she knows absolutely nothing about sports, right? Nothing about sports. And I was a beach bum down in Merritt Island, and we were just so. At this time, I played in like 10 ESPN Classic games. I was on the wrong side of most of them, but I was explaining this play about like, hey, I saw the biggest hole I've ever seen in my life. And I literally went from like running to get short yards.
Yeah.
When I tell you, if I would have got through that hole, I was scoring. I was going to pull a hamstring. There was nothing. I mean, I literally saw glory. The problem is they did a stunt and somebody missed picking it up. And as soon as I took that step forward, like I was about to use all my 40, I saw a large white jersey with dark skin arms, and boy, he got me. And luckily, I'm a large man too, so like he didn't just like get me in there, but he got me behind the line of scrimmage. Like it was a safety. I'm not even going to front on it, but like so, I'm telling her about that. We come to the place where I was staying, and the game is on TV. The ESPN Classic, Florida State versus Penn State in the Orange Bowl. And guess what play was playing as soon as we walked in the house?
That one.
It was literally that play. So it was funny, man. Like you can't always be anybody who tells you that they've won every fight and their name's not Floyd Mayweather. Even he didn't win every fight. He lost his last amateur bout. But they're lying to you. You got to believe you're the baddest ass until you meet a badder ass. And right there, the motherfucker was a bad ass to me at that moment. It wasn't my fault, but shit happens, man. But
you got a comment here. James says, Jackson James, it says, "You look refreshed. Big game. Good afternoon."
I don't know if I can just say that. I mean, I got a good package. I got some good medicinal.
Okay, all right. Yeah, That's why
I've been getting some good medicinal, man. It helps me sleep a little bit better. I'm not in as much pain. It also calms me down because, again, like I got people have been getting on my nerves. Again, I'm dead serious, man. I think the world would be a better place if people's jaws got tapped a little bit more. Like I'm for going back to I challenge you to a duel type things because I think maybe not with the guns, but like more people would be more apt to like look for other ways to resolve conflict if they knew that they couldn't fight and they realized they couldn't fight and they realized you can't just talk your way out of everything. But this month is going to be crazy. So I may look relaxed, but inside I'm stressed. These bills is real, but some of these opportunities are realer.
Crazy. You don't even understand it.
Shout out to everything that's going on. So, but moving to this, why I look refreshed more than likely?
Why?
It's because I do refreshing things.
Like what? What refreshes big game?
Like one of the things that I like. Well, obviously I like to smoke cigars. I drink really good whiskey or scotch. I chill out. And I'm kind of into coaching a little bit more. So that puts me out in the sun. So when I sweat. And one of the things that I really, really enjoy is taking a good shower. The steam and
a good shower always hits.
You feel good, and then laying on fresh linens after you take a good shower. A thing that I asked when COVID started, and part of the reason why I believe COVID just never really got out of the reach of people is because people don't bathe. I never knew this. I did not know people don't take baths regularly.
Okay, you got to explain.
And I'm going to a lot of the stuff too. If you didn't realize this, there's studies right now stating that the bubonic plague or the Black Plague could have been prevented, or not as many people needed to die if they just practiced better hygiene.
Yeah, which is why I think that we should call it the White Plague. You can't call it the Black Plague anymore because come on, Miles, that was good.
No,
that was good.
You have a good point because the plague did not affect African countries as much as it affected the European countries, and it was a big part of why the Moors were able to come in and civilize.
It's the White Plague.
But the reason why I say this is because I didn't know this, that not all, and it's not all, it's just an alarming amount of white people don't bathe every day.
Yeah, the amount who tell us is even wilder.
And that's the scariest part.
The ones they just volunteer the information.
Right. And this lady, she came on and she did it early last week, where she bragged about her skin care routine, and she was putting on lotion. And she was like, this lotion is working really, really well, considering that she had taken a bath in 3 days. And it was putting out her
what she said was, she said So I guess I don't know. I was trying to let you get it off. But yeah, so obviously this lady, she had a bunch of tattoos. It was a girl on TikTok. She had hella tattoos all over her body. She had this tattoo cream. And she's talking about the tattoo cream, and she's like, all right, guys, so I'm freshly showered as of 3 days ago. So I'm gonna put this lotion on to help keep my coating. And that was where it came from.
Right.
And her being, she said she was freshly showered as of 3 days ago. And then now it's time for me to help this lotion to keep my coating so I can stay clean or something.
Yeah, the coating part is what really made my skin itch, man.
You thought it was nasty? You thought it was gross?
Oh, it's not I think. I mean, that is nasty and gross to me. Like, again, like, listen, if it's kind of like on this movie Friday After Next, where
great movie,
where he was just like, you got that big old wolf pussy on your lip, and she said, bitch, I know somebody who like it. And you know what? Hey, granted, bro, you got all this. And she came and doubled down on it. People really lost their mind because I said I didn't shower every day. I'd hate to see how much they spend on moisturizers and skincare products to compensate for all the natural moisturizer and oils their body makes for free that they're washing down the drain every single day. And I think little tilapia is wrong. Like, I don't like smells, man. Like, it really throws me off, man. And like, oh, I'm allergic to fish.
That's one of those.
So like, I don't want to be out here smelling, fish, and then now you're an attractive woman and she comes down to you and she smells like she's she works out at sea.
Yeah, I think scent, that might be one of those symptoms that I can't ignore. Like, if I'm in a place or if I'm in an area, like if I can't see a little bit, it's dark or something, I'll get over it. It's fine. You can't hear, everything's loud, it's all good. But if I'm in a place and I just always smell that like something, like, nah, we got to go.
Yeah, it's just, I just like, man, it's a lot of things that I enjoy doing.
Yeah.
That if I know you don't bathe, I can't.
Okay, I see where you're going.
I can't do it. Like,
I see where you're going.
I cannot physically do it. And listen, hey, if that's what you do, hey, by all means, partake, flourish, kings and queens. But I am just, I get appalled when I see the things that what people are just willing to go on social media and really tell people about their social life.
Yeah.
Like, women who like to go on social media and talk about, oh, my boyfriend just cheated on me. I wouldn't have known that happened unless you told. And then, like, cheating is embarrassing. I'm like, but you're telling us.
Yeah.
Like, if it's embarrassing, like, I don't want people knowing about.
If you would have kept it to yourself, you probably wouldn't be embarrassed in front of us.
Like, you're telling us all about this person
I don't know.
And putting them on blast when really it shows piss poor pussy management. Or
PPM.
Yeah, like, I think that's accountability is a big thing when it comes to this. But speaking of accountability and lack thereof, and people who probably don't bathe every day, that brings me to my hate o'clock. I'm brought to you by Green Acre Sporting Goods. Green Acre Sporting Goods. Listen, man, forget the buy. Don't buy. Like, check out. Well, don't buy, please. But they're hiring. Like, go get a job, get a gig. Like, they will hire you if you got sales experience and you want to sell guns. Like, it's literally a recession-proof business. The things that I'm presenting to you guys, like, you can get this no matter what. Liquor, guns, and tobacco. Matter of fact, what's it? Alcohol, tobacco, firearm. I might as well be we might need to call this show the ATF. That's what we sell.
ATF.
Alcohol, tobacco, and firearms. That is literally all this show is about. Hopefully we get some more sponsors to sell some other stuff, but literally business is going well enough to where they're hiring. I'll go out there. Mechanics on the 9mm guns, they're basically gone now. So thank y'all for that. Still have the AR-15s. I think those are fun to shoot. They still have the 22 with the rifle attachment to it that makes it shoot like a rifle. You've got that 380 by Taurus. This is a really, really nice gun. I think, if you have a woman in your life, that's a really, really good gun. Because I think a lot of people fail to realize that this ain't about going out there with the prettiest arsenal. If self-defense is self-defense. We have at Green Acres every day, we have concealed carry classes. Go check them out. Z and those guys are tapping the line when it comes to it. And they're not going to sell you anything that you don't need. They also have safes. They also have outdoor equipment for fishing. Anything that you want to do on the great outdoors, they have it. They bring you Hate O'Clock, and they brought you Hate O'Clock for damn near a year now. So love the relationship we have with those guys. Continue to want to grow. Pete Prisco.
Pete, is this a person?
This is a person.
Pete Prisco?
Pete Prisco.
Who's Pete Prisco?
Pete Prisco is an NFL analyst for CBS Sports. He's a lot of people in Jacksonville know him more lovingly because he covered the Jaguars. Pete is remember that viral video, like a guy in a bagel shop? I guess somebody cut line. He was arguing with the woman, and he's very short. But that's what Pete looks like if you don't know who Pete is. And that's not me picking on Pete. That's just and that's Pete's demeanor sometimes. Pete comes off as an angry little old man. And he has very good points at times. He also has things where he sounds like an old curmudgeon, an old man yelling at the sky. Now, Pete, much like a lot of people when it comes to African American quarterbacks, don't like him. Hey, I get it. A lot of us are athletic, can throw these different things. Everybody hated Lamar Jackson. People still hate Lamar Jackson, but is he the greatest quarterback? Like from a textbook stance, probably not. But from an athlete perspective, this man has won an MVP. He's taking the Ravens to the playoffs every year. Last year, what he was able to do without any running backs is really incredible. But a lot of people, I would argue, are wrong about Lamar Jackson, especially where he was drafted at. I believe he was drafted either 31 or 32 overall. And a lot of Jags fans would say, hey, imagine where we would be if we had Lamar Jackson in that draft as opposed to keeping Blake Bortles. But Pete, my bad, go ahead.
I was about to say, once again, I just think that's where my point earlier would come in. I don't think Lamar would be Lamar if he came here. I think we would have ruined Lamar. And I think all the media would have been like, see, we were right. We were totally all this guy should have switched positions, blah, blah, blah. We wouldn't know what to do with that.
And fair. And again, I don't really care what your opinion is as long as it's shrouded in fact. And there are some things that, people can say that Malik Willis can't do, but there's also lazy narratives.
Mm-hmm.
The lazy narrative of an athletic quarterback is that they don't do quarterbacking very well. And what happened is Pete's description of Malik is that he doesn't make the second. He's a one read and run guy. He's more of a running back. He lacks an arm strength, which there's a plethora of film that's out there that disproves this fact. Now, you can't say he didn't win the job at Auburn, so he left to go to Liberty, which is kind of hard to be drafted as a quarterback if you don't ever play. And Bo Nix ended up being a quarterback at Auburn. Bo Nix is not there. Probably a lot of Auburn fans are probably wondering what would have happened if we would have been able to keep Malik. Because Malik did go to Liberty, and he did play relatively well for Liberty, considering what happened. A lot of the stuff that people are saying is, well, he doesn't have touchdowns against top opponents, which he does. But a lot of people don't have. And now, one guy I was wrong about, and I'll admit this, was Josh Allen. Josh Allen didn't have a lot of completions and touchdowns against top opponents. His stats actually suck. But when you look at what he had in his intangibles with my partner Denny Thompson with 6 Points Quarterback Academy, always brings up. If you look at what he was able to accomplish at Wyoming and what his skill set was, and you look at what he's doing right now in the NFL, it definitely translated. So people really came out against Pete Prisco and kind of just told him, hey, man, that is a stock, lazy narrative. Now, why is he my hater clock? The hater clock comes in is that when you talk a lot, you leave yourself open for a ton of contradictions when you're not consistent across the board. Pete did a mock draft. Pete's mock draft has the pitch. Now, a lot of people think the Carolina Panthers might be taking Malik Willis, but Pete's mock draft literally states that he's going to the Pittsburgh Steelers. And let me I'm trying to find exactly the things that what he said, because it's clearly a contradiction. What he said is that he has the tangibles and the intangibles of what the Pittsburgh Steelers look at in a quarterback. So you went from saying, now granted, and you did not preface it saying that I don't like these, but you're saying that obviously from an NFL standpoint, an organization can see that he has the tangibles, or that you can see them drafting him there because he has both the tangibles and the intangibles. Like, that's your words. But then a few days later, you come out and say he doesn't have any look of a quarterback. And then when people call you to the carpet on it, instead of saying, okay, well, yeah, my bad, maybe I was a little over the top. He does have some things that I like. You double down and you put, that's called a mock draft, and I put that's also called a contradiction. Like you literally contradicted yourself because you obviously can see what an NFL team would see in him, meaning that you know he does possess some of the qualities of a quarterback. I like Malik Willis in the way that he's talked, and I got a chance to see him at the combine and see some of the different things. And do I think he's going to be the world's greatest quarterback? No, but do I think he's probably one of the better quarterbacks in this draft? Yes, I think he's better than Pickett out of Pitt. I think he's better than Sam Howell out of North Carolina. I think he's better than a lot of the quarterbacks that are being put out here. I think the ability to be able to be an athlete and be able to run in this game is important because that's the way the game has transitioned. It's when the play is dead, can you pick up extra yardage? Can you make athletic throws across your body? Can you do things that we're seeing on a day-to-day basis by the top quarterbacks? And at the end of the day, where you draft at, is this guy better than what you currently have on your roster? And when I look at what the Carolina Panthers have, and even with the Pittsburgh Steelers with the retirement and the unfortunate passing of Dwayne Haskins, because now you don't even have that guy in a position to where he can back up. Even though I think Dwayne's there because our guy Rocket Man is in Cleveland as well. But you don't have these tools like to be able to be successful. So drafting a guy like this is not as big of a gamble as it used to be. And if you get them in the right franchise, the cool thing about the Steelers is the Steelers draft, and this is what makes it even crazier that Pete can put a team like the Steelers and talk about what they pick and why he's a good pick for them, and then come out his mouth to say these things. One thing the Steelers do is the Steelers are probably the best at vetting guys who fit the Pittsburgh Steelers model, their philosophy. They draft these guys, and what happens is these guys tend to stay, especially if they become a starter or a player. They stay in that Steelers organization for years. Even so, when they leave, they get brought back after they go get your check. Come on back. You know how we play. This is what we do. They're probably the poster child of consistency when it comes to the NFL. So my hate isn't on Pete per se, because I think Pete is actually really good at what he does. My hate is in the laziness of the narrative that you could just continue to put stuff out and not only not give a really good retort to why you believe what you believe, but to be arrogant when you're challenged and you're questioned on it. Like, because yeah, you have a history of doing stuff. You also have a history of making some bonehead ass things that you double down on. But I think it's great when you can actually have correspondence and talk. And the people who came at you not only came at you with discussions of why you were wrong, they backed it with film. And there's this thing in football that we always say, the eye in the sky don't lie. So if what you're saying is he can't he's a one read and go guy, but there's consistently film out there showing that he's going through progressions, then why are you saying what it is that you say? Like, what's the purpose? And I think people are kind of wrong when they're saying like he's racist or anything like that. I don't think Pete is racist.
Might just be narrative season. You got to get something out
narrative season, and I just think Pete did what a lot of people in our industry do.
What
is he creates sensationalized headlines, or he says salacious things that get people to talk about it, which is why he is good at what he does. Because at the end of the day, we're all discussing how idiotic the comments were, even though I think Pete is a brilliant guy. I just think he may not be, and he may in fact not be wrong about Malik Willis not being a good pro. I think he's wrong though about his reasons why. Because to be honest with you, it's a lot of really, really good football players in college that don't turn out to be good pros. Tim Tebow is one. I know a lot of Florida fans are like, you'll never hear me. Tim Tebow is one of the best college quarterbacks to ever play.
Mm-hmm.
It just did not translate to the NFL. A good friend of mine, Peter Ward, every day somebody's arguing about how he's the most electric college football players of all time. It just didn't work out on the pro level. Andre Wadsworth, another guy who had before Jameis, was the highest drafted player in Florida State history. Tons of production in college. Did not work. That's the crapshoot about the NFL. Sometimes it's just about the opportunity and who wants it more than others. Again, using my own self as an example, when I got to the NFL, I just didn't like the process. I found out that I didn't love football enough to be able to go through the bullshit that I would have had to go through to be able to stick. That happens way more often than what people really believe or don't. But one thing that you will love and you will get passion for is guns and tobacco and alcohol if you follow this show. But Green Acres is the best place to go to continue to get knowledgeable about the gun purchasing process. They have everything that you can want. They have all the cool name brand guns. They have all the expensive ones. They also are not going to just let you go and, well, they'll let you do whatever you want to do. They'll make sure you're informed about every purchase and every decision that you make. The best way to support our show is by going to our sponsors or follow us check us out on Den Media Group on YouTube. Check us out at sportsnet_live. Follow that on IG, on Facebook, on Twitter. Share the broadcast. All these different things help propel us to help us get checks. Just like the NIL, you don't necessarily have to be able to give your treasure, but you can give your time, and your talent is a retweet. Those are the three things that are the most important things when you're navigating the sports landscape or anything that you choose to like. More announcements are going to come. The YouTube page is going to continue to have more good stories, more good interviews, more good shows that are going to be put on there that's going to populate it. We still need to get to those 4,000 4,000 watched hours. Continue to do those things, continue to share what we got going, and continue to pay attention to at sportsnet_live, at Mikanopi 1851, at Maybe Bobby, at Big Game James _36 for all of the different things that we have going. Appreciate you guys coming and hanging out with us for a little while. Make sure you tell your friends that they're missing out on the best show that they never heard of. And on that note,
you're getting a lot better at this.
Yeah, I'm trying to close it. So on that note, we'll see you guys Wednesday.